Hey, welcome everybody to our Monday Live. In just a minute, I'm going to bring our guest on. You already know who she is. I'm going to tell you something. We're going to have a great time today. And we're going to be looking at the globalist plan to seize your assets, along with several other things that I'm not even going to mention yet. I'm just going to let her bring it up here in a minute. And listen, I want to thank you just for your help for us, and it's your financial support that helps us to be able to do all of these programs that we do here. I want to thank you guys so much for you're such a blessing to me and a blessing to us to be able to do this. We're in this until Jesus comes back, until he calls us home, as we move forward together. And again, I just think you guys are so encouraging out there. And I know some of you might get your feathers a little bit ruffled today, but that's okay. It's good to be challenged. And so with that, please welcome our guest today, coming all the way from Australia, Maria Zeee. Maria, fantastic to have you here.
It's so great to have you, Tom. Thank you so much. And can I just say thank you to all of the work that you and your team are doing. This is such an important work for today and for the future generations, however many we have left. And for everyone that supports this broadcast and this platform and this ministry, please continue to do so, because every single seed that you're sowing and every single seed that Tom and his teams are sowing are really going to contribute to saving humanity in one way or another. So thank you for all you do, Tom.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maria. So this is what we're going to do, everybody. We're gonna be starting here, and then we're going to do some app exclusive things in a little bit. We'll let you know when that's coming. But let's just get started with some of the obvious. I'm gonna ask you. We're going to do some warm up questions, and then we're going to get to the really the really tough things. So when you look at this just this past year, what would you say has surprised you the most in the we're 7 months into the year, 8 months into the year? What would you say has surprised you the most, or has anything surprised you this year?
In terms of the progress of the agenda, I'm not surprised. I knew what the next steps would be and how they would sort of shift narratives. What has surprised me is the lack of awareness in some of the population. I do think that more and more people are realizing something is very wrong, but there are still some people left that think that everything is dandy. And that to me is just, it's mind blowing. How could you live in this day and age and not realize that something is amiss? I can't understand it, Tom.
You know, I would say that is one of the biggest surprises to me also. I mean, you look, you go, it's just amazing. How can somebody see what's going on and not have any kind of light bulb go on? However, at the same time, we know the Bible prophesies about deception in the last days, a strong delusion that God will send upon the people, that they'll believe the lie. And you look, you go, I mean, there's really no other explanation. It's amazing. I travel a lot. And with that, I see some very interesting things. And I just think, wait, this person actually thinks all this stuff is normal. It's like, this can't be, but I guess there's enough people out there that do think that way. I'm going to ask you, let's go into Australia a little bit, because I think this is going to help the rest of the world to really understand some things from some people in their own government that are actually, they're awake, not woke, they're actually awake. And there's profound things that are taking place. And we know about lies. We'll get into some of the lies a little bit later when we go app exclusive. But just walk us through some of the things going on with some of the people that are waking up out there that are in prominent positions.
Well, we have a group of senators that have really been awake from the start. And I want to name them because they're such wonderful people. You've got Senator Pauline Hanson, Senator Malcolm Roberts, Senator Matt Canavan is another one who I'm not close with, but I know has been speaking up, Senator Gerard Rennick, Senator Alex Antic. These senators have been representing the Australian people and really fearlessly in Parliament. And Senator Malcolm Roberts actually just gave a speech in Parliament. And it's not the first time that he's made statements like these about holding these people accountable for what they've done to us. And I'm sure people watching on YouTube can read between the lines. But he essentially said, "You think that you're going to run away from accountability? You're not. We're coming for you." He's used the words, "We're going to hunt you down," before. So he is just fearless, and we're so grateful for him. And I have to just thank him so much, because I was incredibly humbled recently. He in a speech that he gave in Parliament, where he credited citizen journalists compared to the lies that people have been fed, and he mentioned me by name, and I was honored by that. But what I'm trying to say is, it really just is a testament to the fact that he values the input from the people, values people that tell the truth. And we have very few politicians in the world today who value people that stand for the truth. So we are blessed in this country to have those people. I do know that Christine Anderson from Germany has been absolutely, she's like a bulldog. She will not let go. And she is saying, "We're coming for you. We're going to hold you accountable." So we are seeing, even Senator Ron Johnson in the United States recently spoke up on Fox News. We are seeing, this rise of politicians who are standing for the right things, really getting fired up and saying, enough is enough. You think you're going to sweep these crimes under the rug? You're not going to get away with it. What I can also tell you is, one of these great senators in Australia told me that, where some of his colleagues would sit in Parliament before and really get angry at the population that was opposing them, they are now seeing that some of the things that they were defending during the time of the pandemic, they were very wrong about, and they're starting to sit there with their heads in shame. They're not speaking up, but they know that something went very wrong. So these are good signs, Tom, but we do need more effort. We need to keep going.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to ask you about this in just a second regarding, do you think that we will see people held accountable to the place where they'll be found guilty and in jail? I'm going to ask you that in just a second. But before we get there, I want to remind everybody to like and subscribe to this channel, whether you're here on YouTube or on the app. It's really the only way we can get the word out. And also make sure that you hit the notifications too, so you can be notified every time we have a live stream like this, or with the one like with Monkey tomorrow. All right, so Maria, do you think we'll see people get arrested? I know I got to be careful here. We'll get more into it when we go exclusive in a minute, but what do you think?
Yes, I will touch on exactly how we can hold them accountable when we go exclusive. But the answer to your question basically is, if people don't give up, well, what we need to understand is that the agenda is accelerating. And as we get closer to holding them accountable, we get closer to, say, a major cyber attack or something like this that threatens to silence anyone who disagrees. And we can talk about that more in a moment. But we need to not give up, Tom. We have to be like, a bull in a china shop, if you will, and just relentless, smashing all of their lies at every turn. And where people say, I'm just trying to live a normal life, you've got to understand that tomorrow you won't have a normal life. These are the final moments to defend humanity as we know it. And so if we back down now, which I don't think people are, but I do want to see an acceleration to hold them accountable. And if we all commit to that, I think there is a way, and we can discuss how when we get off YouTube.
Yeah. Thank you. And I also want to say this, because, Maria, I totally agree with you. We need to press forward. And you and I both believe that the Bible is true, that Jesus is coming back. But in the meantime, we don't just sit on our hands and go, well, it's just all going to unfold. No, we want to be about our Father's business. We're part of the restraining force that's used, which implies, just from 2 Thessalonians alone, that we're supposed to be totally involved in this and bringing in righteousness. There's very evil things that have been done. And so, we'll get into that in a few more minutes. Okay, now you mentioned something to me, which I found very interesting. Actually, several things. But earlier, before we were able to come on, you mentioned agenda, not Agenda 2030, but Agenda 2045. Fill in everybody on that, because that's not one that's anybody really hears much about.
Yes. Agenda 30 is really what is feeding into the ultimate goal of Agenda 2045. I'm about to release a series on this. It's going to be a 4-part series on my show called Uncensored, which is on the Stu Peters Network, but you can also get it on zeemedia.com. That starts in a couple of weeks. Agenda 2045, they call it's the 100th year of the United Nations. It's the anniversary, and it's the culmination of where the Sustainable Development Goals are going to lead us. Again, I have to be careful with what I say here on YouTube, but basically it is the ultimate goal for transhumanism. They call it the age of global enlightenment. This is a Luciferian term. And they are opting everyone into this religion of enlightenment, what they call enlightenment, without their consent. And that opting in includes a new social contract where everyone is being referred to as an object. Every living human being is being referred to as an object and an AI citizen in their AI world society. It's very, very alarming, Tom. It's beyond next level tyranny. It's something that people can't even conceive in their minds right now. And I think that we have grossly underestimated AI. I think we've grossly underestimated just how far, how advanced this technology is. And in that series, I'm also going to be covering some of the technology that makes it possible already to merge human with AI. In fact, they talk about the fact that the mind and machine is what is going to be merged. The mind, the conscience, the conscience of a human is going to be merged with AI, and then it's basically going to guide humans on how they need to behave, what they need to think. Bear in mind, this is about thinking. This is controlling your thoughts. You're not even allowed to think against the UN, who they're putting at the helm, with AI sort of steering. UN officially in charge, but AI at the helm.
I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that in just a few more minutes, where we'll have that opportunity on the app. Let me go here. You did a message recently on the Globalists' plan to seize your assets,
Yes.
and was a unified ledger or something like that. So fill us in a little bit on that.
So a lot of people would know that during the pandemic era, they started to, at least in Australia, I'm not sure when it started happening in other countries, but in Australia, they started to digitize all of the land titles, which a lot of people were saying, you don't own your home anymore. You don't, that piece of paper that you have is no longer yours. It essentially belongs to the government, because they've put this on a digital ledger. And at the time, many of us didn't understand what that meant. Basically, the way that Tom Renz, who's an attorney and used to be a banker, explained it to me is that this digital ledger turns your assets into a line on a screen, on a ledger, which at any point can be removed from your possession digitally based on your behavior. This links in with the CBDCs. This links in with the social credit system. And again, I have to be careful with what we say here, but it links into the AI world society as well. And in fact, they make mention of it in this Luciferian book that they've published, that all assets will belong to them.
All assets will belong to them. What a shock. Maria, real quick, how can people follow you if they don't already?
Yes.
That are watching this?
So the best place to follow our all of our live streams and everything gets reposted to Maria Zeee on Rumble, 3 E's, and all of our content is on zeemedia.com. I'm shadow banned on all socials, so that's the best place to find us. zeemedia.com has all of our content.
Thank you very much. Here's another question. Universal Basic Income, UBI. I've been talking about for quite some time. There's a gentleman out of the UK, wrote this great newsletter probably 8 years ago, and he's talking about technology and universal basic income. He said it is coming, and you can start to expect it to be implemented in 2022 or 2023. So now we're hearing a lot about it. You've all know Harari, Elon Musk talks about it, and we've got to go this direction. However, when you look at UBI, it's all part of this whole universal basic income. It's the artificial intelligence, it's this digital world. It's all tied in there together, right?
Yes, they recently, the lamestream media recently wrote an article about how AI is about to create a Rust Belt situation in many suburbs across Australia because there are white collar workers who are going to be replaced, and they're going to be replaced at a rate that is going to come so fast that they're not going to have time to upskill in order to find a new job before AI replaces all those other industries as well. And therefore, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgages because they're middle class income earners, or middle income earners, I should say. So it's going to eliminate the middle class. This is the agenda of Schwab and Co. And basically, you're just going to have the top 1%, and everyone else is going to be poor and given a UBI. This is a vision that they've described in detail. They haven't hidden it from the world. It's just that they sort of present it as something that could be good. What I note is that this book about the age of global enlightenment actually describes how you will be given a UBI, how you will continue to live. And it really does depend on you contributing to this AI world society. Nothing that you do in the real world matters anymore. Everything that you do in the digital world, when you do good things, you will be rewarded accordingly. And it really does tie in with a certain pattern that we know about that talks about mining your body data in order to reward you in cryptocurrency. So this is the world that they're building. It's a fake world. And they basically say that if you don't comply with everything that they want you to do, which includes your thoughts, you are not part of that world. And it's impossible to survive outside of it. This is what they're saying, Tom.
They don't want you to survive outside of it. We're the useless eaters. How do they decide what the good things are? I mean, when I look at Isaiah, for example, Isaiah says, hey, that he talks about the day coming when good will be evil and evil will be good. And it looks like really that's the direction this is going. What are your thoughts?
So I just reported on InfoWars about a particular United Nations report that was released last month, Tom, that basically calls for religious leaders. I've again got to be careful here. Religious leaders to agree that LGBT rights are above religious rights.
Yeah,
and that LGBT plus rights. And so, and we all know what the plus stands for. So, and it says that they want input from religious leaders that agree, and that the states around the world need to make laws to prohibit anyone who doesn't agree, to get them to fall in line. So that gives you a picture of what these people consider good contribution. They don't want the truth. They will certainly not want anything to do with Jesus. As long as you agree with the universal earth worship, as long as you agree with the universal religion, you agree with the digital world as opposed to real life, you agree to eating bugs, you don't eat meat, you do all of the things that they tell you to do, that's good. So as you said, Tom, good is evil and evil is good. Everything that you know as a human being that's been given a conscience by God to be good, they are inverting.
Oh, that's a great way of putting it. They are inverting. Think of Romans chapter 1 where Paul writes, he says, they will suppress the truth in unrighteousness. They don't want the truth, which is exactly what you said. And how accurate is that where Paul wrote that? Suppress the truth in unrighteousness. All these evil things, don't even let the truth come out of the bag because quite frankly, they don't want to hear it. Even if they know it's true, they still don't want to hear it. That's kind of remarkable in and of itself. When you look at these different things that are taking place, I'm someone that believes that we need to be prepared. Listen, I don't know the timing of the rapture. Sometimes that bothers people. People want to hear me say, well, the rapture is going to happen next week. Well, I'm not going to lie, So there's really a twofold thing. I believe we need to be prepared. I want to know your thoughts on being prepared. I think it involves mental, physical, emotional, spiritual preparedness. But also, what do you do to stay encouraged yourself? I mean, you get attacked by everybody. So how do you stay, how are you able to smile? So I want to ask you that, but let's do the preparedness thing first.
Yeah. So I've been asked about my position on the rapture and how we need to prepare, but I've come to this conclusion, Tom. Whenever it happens, however it happens, whether pre, post, mid trib, I personally have not been able to decide. And if people want to hold that against me, that's their prerogative. What I have decided is that whenever it does happen, and whether my understanding is right or wrong about this, I want to be prepared and I want to be found doing the right thing when he returns. So if it's pre-trib and I'm doing that, I should be raptured. If it's post-trib and I'm doing that, I'm doing the right thing, So it's kind of like the people that say, can you or can you not lose your salvation? I'd rather live life as though I can, just in case. So, this is how I see things. And so, I've come to a point where I think there's so much uncertainty in life. The only thing we know to be the absolute truth is God and his word. And if we are humble enough to ask him to teach us and show us the truth in every single way in life and let him guide our paths, I think we're on the right track there. And so, when you ask, how do I stay just on preparing. Yes, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I have food. I have a lot of, long life water. I have things that, alternate power, things like this, alternate communications. I believe in that because I don't want to be caught unaware. And not only that, I don't want to put it in the power of these maniacs who want to control every aspect of our lives to put me in a spot where I'm unaware. Even if it's just like a no, screw you, I'm not going to let them control my communications or anything, So this is something that I'm passionate about. But also because there will be people, if something unexpected happens around me, there will be people who are afraid. Hopefully I can be a beacon of light for them. I will have food for them. I will have water for these people. That's the way that I see it. And I think that we have biblical characters in the past who've displayed that sort of wisdom. Joseph. And so how do I stay happy and positive? I know the end. And the fact is that we've already won. All of these turmoils that we're facing here in life today are so temporary. Yes, okay, it affects our life. And gosh, we wish we were born 100 years ago where we didn't have to worry about these things. And the temptations that we face in today's day and age are, much more difficult than temptations that people faced 200 years ago, because you've got the digital world in your face all the time. You've got distraction all the time. People were much less distracted. How much harder is it to maintain attention today than it was even 5 years ago? So I think that, we need to be aware of that. But at the same time, every moment that we have, if we spend it serving humanity in these days that we're living in, whilst trying to maintain the fact that we have breath today, that is something to have joy for. I think that you can't go wrong.
Amen. I could not have said that better. And I think it's in Acts chapter 17, where Paul writes, hey, you've been appointed for this time to live in this generation, to live in the very city that you live in. God's determined for us to live here. Well, let's do everything you said. Let's live for the Lord. Let's be found worthy to be called a Christ follower. Do what we're supposed to do. And I believe being well prepared is wise. I mean, what if 2 days from now there's a massive cyber attack? I keep hearing that Australia is probably going to be the place this will come from. They'll start there. I don't know if you hear those same things, but I hear them.
I do.
It would not surprise me. I've told a couple of my other guests from Australia that I personally believe the last few years, Australia has been like the petri dish for things, the testing place. Australia and Canada, the U.S. is a bigger target. There's a lot more people here, and there's a lot more guns here that people have. So there's some challenges here, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Australia absolutely was. It's even named in the UN documents. I don't want to tell you on YouTube what that document is, because when I actually exposed it, they removed it from the internet.
Let's not do it.
Okay.
Let's do this. I want to ask you, there's several things you brought up. We're going to go to app exclusive. We're going to go there right now. So, hey, everybody, listen, if you're not already on the app, I want to encourage you, come on over to the app, Hope for Our Times. Just download the app if you don't have it already. you go to hopeforourtimes.com, you can also watch it there. So either one of those, download the app. It's free. You can take that everywhere you go, but hopeforourtimes.com also. So we're going app exclusive. I'm just waiting for the green light, Maria. And